Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is us from the John Campea Show, the Batman Beyond crew, doing a Rings of Power after show. This is, of course, for episode 4, The Great Wave. And that's not what you do at a sporting event.
You don't do the Great Wave? I thought
you do,
wee!
but that's not what they mean for this particular.
I'll put my foam finger away.
Yeah.
At the end of this episode, we are now left with only 4 more episodes left till the end of the first season of Rings of Power. So I think it's a great place to sort of take stock in what we think of this particular episode. I feel the show's been getting better as it's gone along, which is good, but I'm still not feeling it. Not the way I want to feel it. Mm-hmm. So I ask you, Amy, how are you feeling now that we are at the halfway point of Rings of Power? How are you feeling about the series, and what did you think of this episode, The Great Wave?
Oh boy, that's like 3 questions. So let me know which ones I forget to answer. I've been very upfront that this series is not necessarily my cup of tea. I don't know if it's something I would have sought out was I not doing this. I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings fan.
What?
I know.
We still like you.
Thank you. Yeah. See in the chat if they do. I have liked parts of this show. And personally, I feel that it was getting better and catching some momentum. And it kind of felt like this episode hit the e-brake pretty hard for me. It just keeps feeling like we keep kind of expanding out the world, and we're lacking. There's an amazing scale to everything visually and sort of storytelling wise. And I don't really want that. It's starting to feel a bit too big and a bit too broad. And a bit too high fantasy of like these conversations aren't engaging me with the characters. And frankly, I just don't feel like enough happened. I really like the Harfoots, and I was really missing them this episode. You know, we finally got Bronwyn and her son back in, who we were missing last week. And I'm getting frustrated feeling like, no, don't bring in a new storyline. Focus on what we have. As a viewer, I know Galadriel's sort of my protagonist, but I don't feel that emotionally when I'm watching it. That said, there are things I still like visually. I think it's still stunning. I really do like the stuff with the dwarves. For me, like next to the Harfoots, they're standing out as a really human element. I mean, I know they're dwarves, but emotionally, a very human element of I like Durin and Disa. I like their relationship. I'm rooting for those characters, and I'm curious to see where they're going.
I believe they're a real married couple.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I really enjoy their dynamic and relationship.
When
Which I think is a strong suit of the show.
I think they do a great job, capturing that sort of the ragging on each other, the playfulness, but never feeling like, oh, we actually hate each other. Like the actual love and that they actually do like each other, I think is a huge human element as to why I'm rooting for those characters. And something that can feel like it's missing a little bit in some of these other plot lines of just what am I rooted in emotionally?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. Chris, you're the I mean, you have a dog.
I have a dog named Gimli Gloin.
And your
I have a company named Speak Friend.
Now, I know that
Very
you were really
invested.
looking forward to the show. How are you feeling? What are you feeling with episode 4, The Great Wave? Is this great? Or do you want to wave it goodbye?
I kind of wanted to wave this one goodbye. This one bummed me out. I came into the office today like, I know I've been like the evangelical Rings of Power kid.
You were in a black mourning veil when you came in.
I want this show to be so good. And I think e-brake is the best way to put that, Amy. Like this one did feel like we hit this big speed bump in actually moving the story forward. There were some really, really great things here. I love the singing and pleading with the stone. That was beautiful and haunting and so great. I really, really love Durin and Elrond's relationship and this kind of weird dance they have to play of genuinely caring about each other, but obviously having their own political needs and agendas and things and not fully trusting one another. I've enjoyed all of that. The orcs always look amazing.
Scary ass food.
Adar, who's a new character, I find very intriguing because this is completely created for the Rings of Power show. And that whole like bridge between being an elf and orc and showing us the softer side of orc culture, I think is really cool because as we talk about a lot on the show, villains typically do not see themselves as villains. I doubt an entire species sees themselves as the bad guys. So it's nice to see orcs have tenderness and mercy killings with one another. I think that's really
the softer side of orcs.
I truly think that's really lovely. I think that's beautiful because in the past we've seen them just like eat each other and be horrible. It was really
Looks
nice
like
to see some
meat's
tenderness.
back on the menu, boys.
Exactly.
Oh, look at that friendly face. He's smiling. He's
was so
happy to
happy to
see
him.
you.
And it meaning father in Elvish, like all of that is beautiful. I do think though it's problematic when you can't fit your core cast into the same episode, and the fact that we do have to keep bouncing back and forth and going, well, we're not going to see an entire storyline for every other episode. And that's very odd.
And that's the other thing. I wanted to come back to characters. I wanted to feel like within the big arc of the show, we're getting these little arcs of, okay, so this is what Galadriel's doing. What's Galadriel up to this week? But like actually having some degree of her little mini arc within this bigger arc, it just doesn't feel like they're wrapping anything up ever. Like it just feels like we just keep spiraling out bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Exactly. And frankly, at this point in time too, I don't need to know about Isildur's sister and her new love interest. I don't need to know about that. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll change my mind at some point. I want to know more about things like Theo speaking with that old man who lets us know, hey, he's a Morgoth and Sauron sympathizer, and they've been waiting. And they're like, no, bro, we're waiting for our Lord to come back. Yes, I want more stuff with that sword. And I know we're going to get there. But it just felt like we didn't dive into any characters truly. We didn't move the story forward in any way. And I also am left with some questions about Pharazôn, because in the books, he is the final king of Numenor before the wave hits and everything. And I know he's a cousin of Muriel, so maybe he becomes the king at this point, and that's how we're moving that forward. But also, because he is kind of the hand of the king, to borrow from Game of Thrones, could he be our Sauron in plain sight, since we're kind of moving timelines around? There's a lot of questions I have, and I want the show to answer some instead of giving me more questions.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, one of the things that I wanted from the show that I'm not getting is I wanted an exploration of Middle-earth in terms of where everybody is, where are their alliances, what do they want, what is their political structure, because they all, the fact that, I mean, between Durin and Elrond, you see that they like each other, but there's an inherent distrust. So you understand, how are you going to get the dwarves and the elves to completely cooperate? You know, how are you going to, because they're going to have to. The end of the Second Age is the War of the Ring that we saw at the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings. How are we going to get there? And I feel that the story that they're telling, I'm like, okay, there's like orcs in the Southland. They're there. Like Galadriel's warning everyone, you know, Sauron's back, and you've got refugees coming in. Like the word doesn't spread. Sauron's dark powers are rising in the South.
And one thing I just realized, I feel like, because it's like, okay, fine, political machinations are not what I associate with Lord of the Rings, but what I do is adventure, is like journeys. No one left. No one went anywhere this episode. Everybody stayed exactly where they were. From the last episode to this episode, I mean, maybe like a little bit. I'm sure I'll get corrected in the chat, but like, I don't feel like anyone went anywhere or did anything. It was just a lot of like, well, we're here. Let's have a 15-minute conversation about it, and then we'll never see these characters again this episode.
Well, I also feel like I'm sorry if you're watching this morning on the John Campea Show. I might have spoiled this, but here's so Muriel has a Palantir, the seeing eye,
yeah,
and she's looking at the
cool.
future of Numenor, and she knows, she dreams, she's seen the destruction of Numenor, she's seen the Great Wave, hence this title, and Galadriel's. Basically, they're at odds because, well, one dwarf or one elf shows up in Numenor after hundreds of years. Now they're bitching about elves taking their jobs away. But also Muriel and Galadriel I would assume, be on the same page. And Galadriel's like, well, you know, Sauron's power is rising. And if you're watching the destruction of Numenor in this Palantir, and, oh, wait, I'll watch it too. Why don't they team up? Why is there any kind of beef between them?
Well, and we see at the end, ultimately they do, because, you know, Nimloth the tree starts shedding,
finally,
which are representative of like the tears of the Valar and all of that and the judgment. And so then, hey, we're all coming together.
But doesn't it seem a little quick? Like in the one episode.
That's fair.
Oh my God, please do not complain about something in this show moving too fast.
That's true. I guess you're
they'll
right.
hear you. They'll slow it down.
But it's such a strange thing to me. Like this one elf shows up and causes all this consternation.
See, I do enjoy that just from a lovely like pot stirrer moment of that one guild guy trying to, oh, they're coming to take our jobs. They're coming to this. And Pharazôn coming out and saying, one elf? Yeah, one elf is going to do that. Okay, guys. All
Did
right.
that get a little heavy-handed for anybody else?
Oh,
And
just a
I
little.
am not opposed to delving into, social stuff and social commentary in fantasy. I think it can be a really effective way to do it. But yeah, the elf, for lack of a better word, elf racism just started to feel a little heavy-handed. Like, I get what you're doing.
I can
Like,
imagine all the cobblers in Numenor, like, they're gonna take the shoes away from us.
I thought you were going to say the
Point me now?
cobblers were going to have to build a wall.
No.
Oh,
Like
no.
the Masons are
All
like,
those
yeah,
shoes.
it's getting a little like, I see what you're doing
It's
here.
like
You can
Sabot, the shoes will be in.
Did
that's
anyone else
sabotage.
like snicker though at the Farazan moment of by the calluses of my hands as he holds up his like beautiful ringed
Yeah,
hands?
that was funny.
I loved that moment of like, yeah, talk about how you work for the people, baby. I love this. I thought that all his stuff was great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to love this show, but
Yeah.
look at this shot right here.
Right there, the calluses of his
This
hands.
to me,
Chancellor
this
Bobby
to me
Moynihan.
looks like we're at the
Beardy
Lord of the
Moynihan.
Rings.
Beardy
We're-
Moynihan is
We're at the
great.
Lord of the Rings theme park here. The colors, everything about this does not make me believe that I'm actually in Middle Earth. There's
Ooh,
something about
okay.
the color palette. There's something about the look of all this stuff. I
that
feel
blue
like
too
I'm
blue
watching a
for you?
BBC production from 1976.
For me, because it's so ostentatious, it makes me think of, being royal and removed from the people, and the Numenorians thinking they are above the others of Middle Earth.
Well,
but that's for me.
That's good. That's good.
yeah.
That makes you feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay.
I get it. We can disagree, Rob.
Well,
It's
yes,
all right.
I think everything that Numenor, the way it was lit, perhaps I thought it was a little too bright, a little too.
That's a fair
You
criticism.
know,
I think.
I didn't like this. Yeah, this does not look to me like it's a real place. It looks like a set.
Well, and artificial light is always kind of hinky when it comes to CGI too. CGI loves to thrive in darkness,
Yes, it
right?
does.
loves shadow, and I think how bright and just luminous this world can be, it sometimes makes it put in the uncanny valley then of that doesn't look quite natural, but I get what you're trying
Because
to do.
if this were Lord of the Rings, they would use the color grading software they developed for the movie, and they would bring the light down and make it look a little bit more
Ooh,
realistic.
that knowledge is above my pay grade, but that is very interesting to know.
That looks better.
That's
that looks
that's
better.
wonderful and
That's
cinematic.
good stuff. Because it's lit like what Ridley Scott would do.
Ooh, yeah.
Look at that beard. What kind of oil do you think he uses?
That's a great
I
question,
do not
Amy.
know. It's a good. It's a good question.
It's something exported from the Alps.
I'm doing my best here, people. Bear with me. I don't know any names. I'll just refocus the conversation.
I love how that made my brain completely short circuit. Where I was
You
like,
both looked at me
don't
like I
know.
just said something horrifying.
Well, I mean, you talk about the development of the characters and that the Harfoots were not in this episode, and the fact that I do feel that the show is moving. We're 4 hours into this show, and I don't feel an urgency. I
no.
want to feel like, obviously, when we've got orcs rising, killing elves in the south, and Galadriel wants to raise an army and take those Numenorians and storm wherever. I just don't feel that anyone's in much of a hurry.
Well, it feels like we're getting, I feel like people are even saying like, oh, well, they're going to do this many seasons and it's going to pick up at this. It's like, I don't want to wait till the end of the season. I don't want to wait till season 5 for it to be interesting. Because guess what? I'm not going to be watching if they keep this pace and going.
I
And
mean,
it's,
4 hours in, we were an hour into Two Towers.
That's
If you're
true.
watching the Lord of the Rings
And
movies.
it's fine. It's a mini series, not a movie, or like it's a TV show, not a movie. I can get that your pacing's different. I don't mind slow pacing. If we were I think if it felt more focused, if it was like, okay, we kind of have our 3 big plot lines, and yeah, we're spending half this episode just seeing what life is like in Numenor because that's going to be relevant for X, Y. Fine, but it's just so much. I'm just kind of like, who are these? I don't know what's happening, and I don't always care, and I want to care.
Yeah.
Kris, do you echo that sentiment?
I usually care. And this episode, though, was a little rough for me. Is this enough to make me completely turned off to the show? Absolutely not. I'm really going to keep giving this a good old college try because I've liked the other 3 episodes. This is just the one where it hit some roadblocks for me, but we'll see. We've got 4 more left. Is that it?
4 more left.
4 more left. Come on, guys. You can do it. You can stick the landing. I believe in you. Maybe Galadriel could make a few better choices, though. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like if for somebody who wants to go around building alliances and is looking for help in her quest to destroy Sauron, she's not exactly. She doesn't go about. I'm just going to go up and see the king. I'm going to talk to whoever I have to talk to.
She pulled the full Middle Earth. Can I speak to your manager routine? Like.
And then
she said, "What do you mean you won't honor this coupon? Get your manager right now here, ma'am."
Well, but then it was, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize your dad was sick. That was a dick move of me."
Yeah.
It was a dick move to begin with.
Yeah.
And I understand that all of that was to justify the xenophobia towards the elves because there's this great looming doom. But I feel like we're missing some of the dynamic nature of these kinds of arguments, where if Muriel and Galadriel are constantly just butting heads and it's only aggression, and then all of a sudden it's, okay, but now we're on each other's side, that I just need some more nuance in those moments, too.
Absolutely, especially because she's dreaming about the destruction of her homeland. She has a Palantir that is showing her this destruction. So any ally that, apparently she's not telling anybody else this. Mm-hmm. And you'd think that if you were in the regent of Numenor, you would be massing your troops and explaining, I don't know when this is going to happen, but we need to batten the hatches and figure out what the hell is going on. Mm-hmm. And if Galadriel shows up, clearly I would see that as a sign or a portent of something. Perhaps maybe she knows something I don't. Maybe I'll talk to her rather than like, dick elf.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
That's fair.
I don't know. I mean, is it? Am I being wrong?
Hey, it's your opinion, Rob.
You know what else is my opinion?
What?
That our sponsor for today's show is a great, great product that all of us can benefit from. The people at Manscaped.
We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life.
And thanks to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring this episode of the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power After Show. And now it's time to hear from all of you out there. You've heard what we have to say. You've heard us opine. We're still in. We're still going to watch the next 4 episodes.
Yeah.
What do you guys have to say? Jonathan, where are we at?
Sam Fisher said, I'm noticing a lot of parallels to the actual Lord of the Rings. Like Jesus Christ, it's already happening.
Arondir.
You're all good.
Nobody look at me. Arondir and Theo's escape felt a lot like the ambush of Boromir.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to get even a lot more of that because the Lord of the Rings, they're trying to, do those echoes and patterns.
Yeah.
As George Lucas said about Star Wars, it's like poetry.
That's a good George.
That was pretty good.
Well, it's Anyway.
Well, I feel like a lot of people have pointed out Poppy and Nori feel very Sam and Frodo.
Oh,
very Sam.
Like almost to the detriment of the show at some point of like, we've seen it.
You're not wrong.
Sam said, do you think that the 5-season commitment is contributing to the extreme slow pacing of the show? Parts of the show seem unnecessarily dragged out. I think, yeah.
I do too.
It seems that way, especially because, and I obviously have been very on board with the pacing up until now, where I'm like, that's how the books are. They're slow. Calm down. It's like 3,000 years. But like you were saying, I don't want to wait for things to pick up in season 3.
Yeah.
So I do think we need to get some hustle in here. We need some.
It's like the end saying hello. I don't need to be here for 5 hours saying hello.
Well put.
Well,
yes, Jonathan.
And honestly, it's like it sort of feels right now like they're thinking of this as a 5-episode arc. And that's great. That should exist, especially if you know off the bat that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But within that, we need season arcs that hit the pacing of a season. And we need episode arcs. Things need to actually grow and change and happen within an episode. And it feels like right now we're just on the scale of a 5-season arc.
I also feel that this show doesn't feel epic. I want it to feel bigger than it is. Because like everyone, you were saying, I think Amy, you were saying earlier that everyone, or maybe it was Jonathan, everyone's in kind of jail.
Yeah. Like I said, no one's leaving where they are.
Yeah, they're all.
Yeah.
We're locked behind. Well, we've got refugees coming in from the Southlands. You know, and then we've got people in jail. Galadriel's in jail, and Arendir's in jail. You know, with the orcs, and I don't feel like there's a lot of.
Well, he's escaped.
Well, now he's escaped.
He just has to carry out their message, though.
But yeah, he finally escaped after two hours.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he didn't get pulled into, but at the end of episode 2. You know, he gets captured and pulled back, and then he's in jail. He's captured by the orcs all through episode 3, and then partly into episode 4. I mean, for an hour and a half, he's been in jail, and then he finally gets out.
That's fair.
What's next?
Sam Fisher said, I still don't care about Theo, although that wonder of his escape was pretty cool, though there are probably hidden cuts throughout.
No, that scene was cool.
I enjoyed that.
I really did like that. I mean, that was I want more of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, you know, one of the things about the Lord of the Rings movies is there's always a dramatic thrust going on. There's always, whether the fellowship is split apart, whether they're together, you always felt the forward momentum. And you know, every 10 minutes, there was some really interesting thing happening that propelled you forward.
Absolutely.
And this seems to be a little too sedentary for my taste, because like you said, it was a quest.
Yeah. Whenever there's action sequences, though, I mean, they really are firing on all cylinders. They're doing some really, really great stunt work and everything. So I think all of that's great. I wish that it was that kind of momentum throughout.
Yes. All right. What's next?
Sam Fisher also says, I think the stranger is a wizard. Waldraig only thinks it was Sauron. Sauron. Ooh. Sorry, I wanted to get the right stank on it.
Well, I think he's probably a wizard too. Whether he's a
Absolutely.
blue wizard or whether he's Gandalf.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I feel like those are our options.
I agree. What's next?
Mans said, hi guys, have you guys seen the clip of Bezos talking about Rings of Power? He mentioned his son is a big Tolkien fan and told him, don't F this up.
I've actually seen that, you know, and let's hope he doesn't. I mean, right now the jury's out for me. I just don't see, the show seems to me not to be where it should be. And people say, well, give it a chance. But we're halfway through the first season. And I find myself mildly interested in coming back.
And I will say, I think if you are a hardcore Tolkien fan, this probably does work at least a bit better for you. You know, Kris, I feel like you've certainly been giving it a lot. You know, you've been at least more like neutral to positive when I feel like we can be a little more neutral to negative.
Yeah.
On it. And I don't know, maybe that's just being more comfortable with the slower pacing and really wanting to know all the lore.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like how people reacted to Dune. I was not a big Dune novelization person, and so the pacing.
You were
for
not
me,
a Dune goon?
I was not a Dune goon. I wasn't a Dooner. And so the pacing for that, I went, why is it this slow? And why didn't they do the 2 movies back to back? I don't understand. And everyone else was, no, the pacing is exactly where it needs to be. And I feel like I had that on board for this too.
Yeah.
But also when it comes to the lore, if you are a hardcore Tolkien fan, which I have been very, very insistent that I do not get everything right. I'm not a theologian. I feel like you can still enjoy this for what it is, for the most part. You don't have to get all the lore exactly right, because you can go back to the book. I don't want to be right. I want to be entertained. So if the stranger is just some random schmo, I don't care. Just make sure it's a good story, you know?
Well, you know, there's a thing too that in the show today, when I'm watching the scene between Durin and Elrond talking about Mithril, all right? They're just parked in one place. Like they're literally standing in a room looking at each other. Do you swear? Yes, I swear. I mean, do you really swear? Can I really? Yes, you can really trust me. Like, and I've been watching old episodes, well, not old, but The West Wing, where everybody's, when they're having conversations, they're doing a walk and talk.
Well, yeah, I mean, that
Aaron
is
Sorkin.
And it's like in this, you're planted in one place. Like I would have expected them to be having this conversation. I mean, it's not like the dwarves don't know they're mining mithril. So it's not like they found this new thing. There's a new vein of new metal that we don't know what it is yet. But it would have been nice if they were like walking through the environment. And then, of course, they're kind of just waiting until, there's a mining disaster, because we all know where the Balrog comes from. So, I mean, it's all coming. But I just feel like when I'm watching this, you could do more in the staging of it to make it more exciting to watch.
Because one of the big upsides of this show has been the sets and that world building. And I want to see more of those cool mines.
Well, and even just moments if we utilize the depth of frame a little bit more and actors dominated the frame and walked into it for moments of aggression and things like that, that would be nice.
Yes.
I think we could do that too.
All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, I think the biggest problem with this series is there is no true inciting incident. It happened in the prologue, even though they framed the meteor as the inciting incident, but no one is treating it that way. The meteor should be this MacGuffin everyone is after, but no character cares.
Well, except for that old man who was like, hold up, Theo. He coming.
Well, no, I think in a way it is true. I mean, it just kind of, you saw a prologue and it just sort of happened. And now it's kind of like moving forward. But again, I don't feel that there's a narrative thrust. There's no engine that's driving this yet.
Yeah.
Fair.
What's next?
Bames John says, stunning visuals, solid characters, and storylines that will obviously lead into some of the major events we know from the Second Age. I can't complain.
That's great.
That's a good, that's a valid criticism, valid point.
Yeah.
Not criticism.
Well, and that's the thing too, guys, is if this show is working for you and everything is firing on all cylinders for you, like I was the last few episodes, that's awesome, right? Everyone's just going to have their own opinions. It'd be really boring if we all felt the same about everything.
There would be like 3 shows and we'd all love them.
Yeah.
And we would have nothing to talk about.
Exactly.
This is awesome, dudes.
Exactly.
All right.
Sam Fisher also says, I just thought Adar was the first elf to be turned into an orc, only it didn't quite take. But now I think he is Sauron, because if he isn't, wouldn't Arondir's message have been sweet fealty to my master?
Oh, I mean, it could be.
Maybe. I mean, I like the idea that he's a mistake that it was an experiment that didn't work. Let's turn elves into orcs, and he only went a little ways toward that.
He didn't get the full Uruk-hai effect.
Yeah, he didn't go. He didn't go all the way.
No.
Which might be true, but even that, like, where are you from? I'm from this place, and yes, I used to walk there when I was young.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
I could see Adar being Sauron, but at the same time, I don't know if you want to take an original character that you've created to be the kind of deceiving moment for that character to come into play, right?
And I don't think it's much of a surprise if he turns out to be Sauron.
Yeah, because right now, truly, I think what's interesting about him is the concept of the whitewashed history of Middle Earth. Of, no, you think that this is what happened with the elves and with men and everything, and you are mistaken. Because again, everyone has their own version of stories. So I think that's way more interesting than making him the big bad.
Couldn't agree more. I liked him.
Yeah.
I like that character.
I think he's a really cool aspect of this show.
Yeah. All right.
Sam Fisher also says, this episode to me was the best yet. There was finally some payoff, and it wasn't just setup.
That's rad, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is a little, especially toward the end of the episode, there is some payoff.
I just wish it was
there's
tightened.
movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm cautiously optimistic for episode 5 because I feel like I hope this momentum like that we got at the very tail end of the episode's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. Well, and we combined, Bronwyn and her love interest and her son back into a story too, right? So that's going to help with the timeline. We finally saw that sword in action. We know some of the political machinations of some of these people. So we're going off on the high seas. We've got a horrible like vision looming. So some stuff should happen now.
We're cooking.
all hell should break loose. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Alex Von Gollum said, hi, everyone. Morphid is giving a good performance. When she... Is that how you say her name? Is that Welsh? I'm almost definitely saying it wrong if it's Welsh. When she said, I have a tempest within me, it made me think her character feels underdeveloped. We still don't know why she acts like she does.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting. Why does she have a tempest within her? Just simply because she knows she thinks Sauron is coming back? I mean, she's not wrong. The whole thing about her is she is correct. And the only thing that I see is that there are a lot of other people know that evil is spreading because they're seeing it or they're experiencing it. Now, does that mean when Arendir comes back and finally says, yo, will people be suddenly like, oh, yep, Sauron's coming back. Let's mobilize the forces. Let's get out there and do some stuff. Numenor's going to get flooded and be destroyed. We better get out and I'm curious because I was thinking that there would be that this creeping evil would be not necessarily an external force, but part of it would be that internally these lands are getting corrupted from within, and the people think that they're doing good, but they're really not. And I wanted more of that kind of a thing, more of that allegorical, kind of back to our world. How if you're not a good custodian of, say, democracy, it will be eroded and it will be taken away from you
And corrupt everything around
and
you.
corrupt everything around you, because that's what happens.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I know this is obviously further down the road once the rings are made and given, but that's the whole thing, is that it is that power corrupting absolutely. It doesn't only affect you, it erodes your family, your legacy, your horses.
Yeah.
Your horses become evil. Like,
Yes.
what the hell?
Yeah.
It's true.
And apparently it's Morvith, which I've spent some time in Wales. I knew I wasn't going to get that one right. Josh Kahn said, well, I feel this was the best episode so far. I still find myself needing to push through. They could have edited down episodes 1 to 4 into 3 great episodes, in my opinion.
I would tend to agree with that.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
I think there's some stuff you could definitely trim out and tighten here.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Tim Platt said, this episode actually brought me back from giving up on the show. I don't know if I've just accepted that this show is going to move ridiculously slow or if there were less things I didn't like in this episode.
Yeah, that's fair, Tim.
I mean, there is interesting stuff going on. I'm just like, I think the problem with this show is the viewers are ahead of it. We already know where these things are going, so it's we know already, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there's nothing in this that's surprising me. Like, even though House of the Dragon, I know it's going to be, say, the Targaryen Civil War, what happens in every episode, how we're getting there, is unique and interesting. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Whereas this, I'm like, don't you people know? Like, I'm way ahead. I think most viewers are way ahead of where we're going.
Yeah.
And they're not giving us a world that we don't, like, I would like to see this world develop to the point where we know the story, where it's going, but all the things that we're learning about are all new to us. And we're not getting that at all. It's all things that we've seen before.
I do feel like because they are playing with the timeline, though, that there are going to be those unexpected things, right? Like, Jonathan, you alluded to this of how Isildur, we better get moving because that guy's not got,
He has
elven time to live.
Yeah, 300 years lifespan. That's about it.
So I feel like there are going to be some changes in the same way that, Marvel comic books, we've seen them make changes and adaptations that then have, subverted our expectations.
That's true.
Is Isildur going to take a scroll-like turn for me? No, because we know where he ends up. However, the journey there is where I'm expecting for some of these other people to hopefully shake things up and give me some moments.
And I do
I
think
agree.
it's interesting, too, just saying kind of getting used to it. I do think there was a definite, for probably, I would assume, a lot of audience members just coming from very modern, fast-paced stuff.
Yeah.
There is a bit of okay, we're slowing it down. Like, even a little bit like, oh, it's an hour, like hour and change, not 47 minutes an hour. Like, I think there was a bit of a shift of expectations and just a having to settle into this pacing. And whether you think that feels slow burn or just slow, kind of up to you as the viewer. But I know for me, it's like a little bit of all right, get my listening ears on and settle in and put my phone away and, try to really focus up.
Oh, what's next?
Sam Fisher said, apparently the Amazon Prime X-ray tell you which passages of the appendices they pull from for each scene.
That's
That's
I didn't
fun.
know that.
I do love the X-ray feature.
Yeah, it's good, but I didn't realize they were doing
Occasionally
that.
It'll spoil shit, though.
That's very true.
I have paused and been like, fuck, guess that character's coming back. Thanks so much, Amazon.
I really like using it for the boys.
Yeah,
That's
it's good.
the best use of it.
It's good. What's next?
But that's cool. James Wheeler with the $20 super chat. Thank you, James.
Woo!
Hello, everyone. I've been loving this show. I've always had a different view of what is slow. I'm simply drawn in.
Well, it's good to hear.
That's awesome, James. Yeah, pacing's gonna be different for everyone.
You didn't
Yeah.
rot your brain with TikTok like I did. Good for you. Sam Fisher said, I don't think that's any god calling Isildur to Middle Earth or the land itself. I think it's his own ambition and dreams, not some predestined thing.
Well, that could very well be true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's definitely one of the themes of the Lord of the Rings is people's ambitions and being corrupted by them.
Absolutely. Well, and Isildur also has the whole like pull of his brother, who thought there was more, and kind of following that journey as well.
Absolutely. What's next?
Tim Platt said, "Is it just me, or does the Chancellor look like Michael Sheen and the Captain's daughter look like Stevie from Schitt's Creek?"
Those are accurate. Like if Stevie went outside.
Totally.
I see it. But the Chancellor is, I believe he looks like Bobby Moynihan doing an SNL character.
Yeah.
I've taken to calling him Chancellor Beardy Moynihan in my own head.
Yeah, it's canon now. It's his name. It's not Farazan.
No.
It's
Because I
Beardy-
can't
it's
remember
Beardy
that.
Moynihan.
But I can't remember Beardy Moynihan.
What's
The name
next?
of Chris's next dog.
Tim Platt said, "Was the end of the episode hinting that the stranger is Sauron based on the star falling line?"
I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to play with that for a while.
I feel like Sauron being the stranger is kind of a poor move, in my opinion, because if you're having him interact with characters much like hobbits, the precursor to hobbits, the Harfoots, one, he would have taken more note of them when it came to having someone transport the ring. And yes, they are just more pure of heart than, man or anything like that. But also, I don't know why you would have such evil around purity and hope and those symbols, and then have it still be like, fuck that shit. I love being evil. You could go that turn. You could do it. I don't know.
I feel like I'm too in murder mystery brain, which is like not what we're doing here. But I'm like, too obvious. Red herring, can't be him.
Right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
Sam Fisher also said, Durin and his dad are right. There is something up, but it's not Elrond or Gil-galad, but oh, come on.
Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor. That one's fun, though. Celebrimbor, and I don't think even Celebrimbor knows what he's up to. Well, I don't even know who Celebrimbor is, Sam, so here we are.
What do you think, Chris?
I mean, that's possible. Right now, this is the issue. Right now, we don't know what anyone's up to because we keep having moments of just like, do they know? Do you know? Does anyone know?
I don't.
Yeah. And while it's cool to have things shrouded in mystery, I need a few threads to pull at. Not just, could I be in on this? You don't know. I need a few other little things to catch on to. Not, you mentioned red herrings before. I do need some friggin' clues. I just need some stuff that points me in a direction of somebody having an agenda that isn't just alluded to. I want someone to plainly say something.
Well, they have that bad robot mystery box storytelling here going on, where we're not going to tell you, we're going to allude to it, but we're not going to tell you. And sometimes, in this case, if this kind of storytelling doesn't always work in this particular case, because when you're dealing with fantasy, knowing who the bad guy is pretty important, so you can understand other people's motivations and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's real hard, again, when you're not a big fantasy person and you're not, intimately familiar with the source material. When you are kind of watching a show going, are you kind of giving me like a slow burn mystery, or am I stupid and not understanding? And sometimes I'm not sure which level I'm on.
Like, eventually we'll get to him making rings and shit, but, we're not there.
And then we'll know who it is.
And then, yeah.
Maybe not even then.
Yeah. Sam Fisher also says, thank you, Sam, for keeping the conversation going today.
Yeah.
I can't tell if Farazan's son asked out, is it Aaron? I kept trying to catch it, and it just kept being people in the background saying it real quiet. Aaron?
I think so.
Aaron, because he knows she's Elendil's daughter, or and is trying to get closer to her for his dad, or is it a coincidence?
I think she's just really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you out.
I mean, that's my assumption, is
Take
that
you
he
out.
just thinks she's a babe.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. I think so too. I mean, she's like the most attractive girl there. Why not ask her out?
Yeah.
Shoot your shot.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
She kind of looks like if Stevie from Schitt's Creek and Emma Watson had a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, you're pretty good with that.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Good, I like that.
It's my favorite game.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher, yet again. I still think the most compelling relationship is Disa, Elrond, and Durin. Though I really like Durin and his dad. Love that story Elrond told about his dad.
Oh,
Yeah, those scenes are definitely working for me some of the best right now.
Yeah, well, because it feels like they're real characters and they're really the interaction is genuine. I don't feel like anyone's talking in fantasy dialect.
Yeah.
I feel like they're really friends and they have a respect for one another. And I like Durin and Disa. They have a real relationship, and it seems like when we finally get there, you have, I hate to say it, the human quality that you're looking for.
truly. Yeah. And I mean, even though they still speak in a heightened way, when we have the razzing of, oh no, I must correct your story of how we met. It was 3 and I had my bow out and no, it was a sword. Like, I love all of that dynamic. And the scene with Durin and his father was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was lovely. And I would love more moments like that. You talked about this off camera, Rob, of, you know, in the original Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, you could really relate to those humanistic moments of like needing your father's approval or seeking validation and trying to rise above your status or things like that. And we get a lot of that with Durin's storyline and with Elrond's of missing his father and wishing he had more time with this great figure, so noble, he was chosen to be among the stars. Like, oh, that's a big expectation.
No, and it's true, and that's. I mean, look at the first Hobbit movie when you meet all the dwarves and like they clean up, they do the dishes. You know, even though they're just doing the dishes, they clean up for Bilbo, and it's fun, and they become more relatable. And I want to see more of that. Like, I don't relate to Galadriel, but I relate to Durin.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have been opposite, but that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum said, I'm very intrigued with Adar. Seems that he could be a great villain. Hope he has some battle scenes. Can't wait for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It looks like I'm sure he's going to lead his own troops into battle,
Yeah.
however that might go. But yeah, I think we're definitely going to see that
Oh, absolutely.
for sure. All right, what's next?
Getting
There we
motion
go,
sick.
There we go. Sam Fisher.
Sam Fisher said, can someone end Farazan? Even if I didn't know about him from the books, I can tell he's on the wrong side of this and will be a problem.
Yes,
Yeah.
he will be a problem.
I was going to say, he's going to be a problem, but it will be dealt with.
It will be dealt with. The Great Wave.
Yep.
Well, we'll see.
Can we do
Wash
a
away
great
all
wave
that.
at the end of the episode? That's
Who's next?
why I showed up today. A-Rod 2006 said, as we learn more Galadriel and Elrond, I wonder, was Amazon not allowed to bring back Cate Blanchett and Hugo Weaving, or did they choose not to?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I feel that the one thing that this is lacking, I like a lot of the actors, but there's no star power in this show. They spent all this money making the show, but the actors are fairly unknown. Like, you would have thought that they would have wanted to have at least 1 or 2 marquee names to draw people to the show.
Well, I mean, Game of Thrones in its initial run, right? We had Sean Bean, and then we were like,
yeah, you had Sean Bean from Lord of the Rings.
from Lord of the Rings,
You know.
But everyone else, for the most part, were, you know, supporting players and other things,
It's true.
theater actors, or a bunch of young actors who had never done anything before.
That is true. That is true. But I would have thought at least one
You'd have
actor.
one.
One.
That's fair.
But you know, it's interesting. I don't think they went to Hugo Weaving or Galadriel or
Cate Blanchett.
Cate Blanchett. I don't think they did. But I mean, I can't. The idea is, well, they're younger now, even though they've probably been the same age the whole time.
Yeah.
That's probably it. I don't think
We
they
see
did.
Hugo Weaving at the end with, you know, a seal door.
Right. That's
So
yes,
I
we
mean,
do.
So he looked the same, but that actor also looks a lot like Hugo Weaving.
Yes,
And he's great. He's doing a great job.
he is doing a great job. What?
Bames John says 99% Meteor Man is one of the Blue Wizards. Fits the latter writings of Tolkien, mentioning them showing up in Second Age to help combat Sauron. 1% chance it's Sauron, 0% it's Gandalf or Saruman as per lore.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Chris?
So, based on the lore,
Throw that on your plate.
Based
based
on the lore.
you would be correct in that being a blue wizard makes sense based on that timeline because that happens in the Second Age. Gandalf and Saruman are not arriving till about the Third Age. Same with oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name right now? The delightful one who lives in the woods, who was one of the doctors in Doctor Who.
Oh, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Who's
Radagast.
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 Yeah.
There we go. Radagast. I think that we could have it be Gandalf simply because Most people know the movies, not the books, not the lore. And if they did go Gandalf, honestly, I wouldn't be upset by that. I think it'd be really charming that Gandalf has such a connection and love for the wee folk, you know, for the hobbits eventually, because he fell in love with the Harfoots and they took him in and they helped him learn how to speak and be humanistic, even though he is essentially a god.
I would like if it's Gandalf,
it'd be fun.
I think it'd be a fun choice, and I think a lot of like the casual fans would enjoy that. At this point, I'm not sure the show will do that though, because I feel like the show is less interested than I thought it was going to be in like being kind of accessible and fun for a casual fan. And I think that might be a big part of my main issue with the show.
Yeah, well, because you should not have to have read all of this. You shouldn't have to have gone through appendices to enjoy this show. And I feel like that's the issue I have with both ends of the spectrum when it comes to critiquing this show, is that sometimes this does not feel accessible. And I honestly feel bad for people who are not particularly familiar with the lore, because you shouldn't have to read a book to jump into a different medium.
Right.
On the other end, people who are saying, it's not like the lore, it's not like this, it's the same criticism. Well, I shouldn't have to read it to understand it or get it. And if it's different, go back to your book. Adaptations are different for a reason, because certain things don't translate.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, but I do think that the quote unquote star power of Gandalf makes me think that it is going to be him. Because
Probably.
if it's just a blue wizard, then you have more you have to explain
Yeah.
to the people at home.
I've said this before on the show. When I explain the concept of a blue wizard to my friends who don't watch the show, they're just like,
He's sad.
yeah, it's why is he a depressed wizard?
Blue Wizard just sounds like a good weed strain.
Hell yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Sorry.
The halflings.
Actually,
The
very
halflings
accurate.
leap.
It's
Yeah.
legal here.
Very accurate.
Riora.
Thanks, Ray.
Raise in the chat,
Trying to
everyone.
get us out of here. Yo.
I'm really digging Rings of Power. What do you think Prince Damon's next move is, and what's a good place to have clams of chow?
Anyone?
I think Damon's going to team up with the older Rhaenyra
Yeah.
and Team Rhaenyra against her
No,
her half brother, who's going to try and take the throne.
And you can get really good chowder at, mostly in San Francisco.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
anyone has good chowder, Rex and SoCal.
I mean, you're the one that lives around here. Don't you know where all the great seafood joints
Are
are?
you guys a fan of chowder, first of all?
I love
chowder is
both New England and Boston.
Here's the one tip. If you go to a buffet, don't ever get the clam chowder.
Well, no, if you
I
go to a
never do.
buffet, you shouldn't
Yes.
get soup in general.
But then you don't want it coming from the back either. You just want to make the chowder yourself. Really.
I'm not making clam chowder.
Wow.
I will. I'll make a salt clam chowder.
There's so many hidden things you could hide in there. You know, and I don't like thinking
Wow,
about
you're really bumming me out, dude. I love clam chowder. When you go
Listen.
to find seafood restaurants, I just take it for
like,
granted
really?
that I trust them.
I just want to go on the record to say, if I die eating clam chowder, you can tell everyone that it's how I want it to go. I'm okay with that. She died doing what she loved.
Doing what she loved.
Okay,
Eating milk and
okay.
seafood from a bread bowl.
Yum, 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 yum.
Okay,
Moving
what's
on.
next?
Bond Presents said, the show very much feels the first act of 40 hours of television, not 8 hours. They said they have the whole show planned out, which is normally encouraging, but maybe that was a mistake for this show. Totally agree.
I couldn't agree more. All right, what's next?
D.A. Hampton said, I don't get why Numenor hates elves in the first place. Did I miss something?
Well,
And
first of all, let me just tell you.
I'll tell you what.
Why did you have to use my accent?
I was doing the Chappelle show. Remember the sketch where he's like the racist. He's like the
Yeah.
What is it? The black white supremacist.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Where do I begin?
Yeah.
Also, and why detain Galadriel there if you don't like elves? Throw her out. Yeah.
These are fair points. These are fair points.
Like,
I
why are
mean,
you
and
keeping her
it's
there?
funny. I mean, there hasn't been an elf in Numenor in how long, and they're all like protesting in the streets. They're going to take your jobs,
And yet they're keeping her there.
and they're keeping her there.
Weird.
I got one actual clam chowder wreck in the chat. Thank you. Stubble McShave, everyone else letting me down today. Stubble McShave said, Sauron will probably not be the antagonist until season 2. He'll be revealed in the last 5 minutes of season 1. I think Fall of Numenor will happen in season 2. Ooh, I think you're right, and I'm bummed.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you do for television purposes.
For we got 5 seasons to fill.
Yeah, here's your big bad, which I know, again, a lot of people are like, you don't even know Sauron's hiding in plain sight in Numenor. Is he? Is he in this version?
Charon.
Is it happening? We don't know.
We don't know, Stubble.
It's not Sauron.
What's next?
Ray or
Going
Ray. You're going to break
go,
even
Ray.
today.
Ray,
In terms of
bro.
rings of power, do you guys prefer the crappy and sad beer battered onion rings or the far superior panko breaded rings? There's a time and a place for both.
What a
I like the beer battered.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm a beer battered guy too, man.
They don't maintain the crisp.
No, you got to eat them. You're not eating them right.
I'm a simple woman.
gotta eat
I will
sour
never
cream.
turn up my nose at an onion ring.
You're just
Me
trying
neither.
to lead the witness with this question.
Kidding
Too.
about
know.
Do you
That's
like
what I
the
was
good ones or the
exactly
shit ones?
I am going to controversial opinion and then we can move on from this. But Burger King onion rings kind of slap and they chop up the onion so you don't get all the onion in one bite and then just eat a
No, for
handful of
fast
fries.
food, I think they do have the best onion rings.
They are,
I-
and they give you the big cup.
They
when you
do.
order
They
large.
get you get a lot of onion rings.
It's like, why you doing this?
But the first time I had beer battered ones, I was like, these are the best. Anyway,
they're-
moving
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Wow, let's get back
Good
to the
talk,
chat.
guys.
Oh,
Leo
there you go.
Liang said, "Happy Friday, Batman Beyond team." Thank
Well,
you.
Leo.
Happy Friday.
Thank you for that.
Leo.
Very much appreciate that. We're having a great old time.
Guillermo Cabrera Roca said, "Looks can be deceiving. Really want to forge something. Mastering other people's fear. Halbrand is obviously Sauron."
Okay, again, is he? Is he? Because also, why do we do the double fakey then of like, but actually he's a king. Oh no, actually he's Sauron and he's going to corrupt men. I don't think so. I think he's going to be the Witch King. But maybe he is. Maybe I'm going to look stupid later.
Ooh, I like that he would be the Witch
I
King.
think he's going to be the Witch King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
works for me.
Cool.
All right, what's next?
Tim Platt said, "What's the big deal with Nithil?"
Mithril.
I think
Mithril.
it's
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't sound like anything I heard. But I was in and out. Mithril, that new ore they found, show made it seem like there was some future importance to it, but that's lost on me. That's true. They did like real. Oh, is there?
Wow, come on now.
Go, Chris. Go, Chris.
Mithril.
I
Chris.
felt it.
Chris,
excited.
let's talk about what is
Please.
Mithril. Tell
I
the
mean,
folks at home.
It comes as far as the lore goes, it comes from Numenor, but also it comes from the mines of Moria, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so remember in Lord of the Rings when in the
Probably
Peter
not.
Jackson films the chainmail that Frodo is gifted,
Okay.
that's Mithril.
Okay.
So it is
It's like
incredible.
impenetrable.
Yeah,
it's like
impenetrable, but
adamant.
it's light.
not
so it doesn't weigh
adamantium.
you down like other armor does. You can still move and bob and weave, and you can be like cooking fools and just
Which
like
is
not
cool,
get
but it
harmed.
feels like they
the
made such a big
vibranium
deal
of
about
this
it, and
world.
it really just felt more like a, oh, that's cool.
Well, Mithril is
It's
you know,
amazing.
It's what the armies wear, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
when they fight
yeah.
the
and
first War
and
of
I
the
think
Ring.
some of the rings are forged out of Mithril.
I
Yeah.
believe so.
So there.
So yeah, so it's a cool little thing. Thanks for asking that, Tim, because I lost my mind about getting to geek out. Appreciate you.
And Joe Fenton.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Joe.
Would that be the end there?
That's it. We have
Well,
reached
that's the end. Well, my gosh, I want to thank everybody for joining us and sending in super chats, giving us great fun things to talk about and keeping the conversation going such as it was. Now, I would like to ask you, Amy, where can people find you online?
I'm on Instagram at amy.n.newman and on Twitter at amy_n_Newman. Don't get it twisted.
Ooh.
Chris Carr, if people want to debate lore with you, where can they find you?
Oh, don't do that. I don't want to do that. If you want to have a nice conversation about like stuff we like or dogs or recipes, I would love that. You can find me at actor Chris Carr on both Twitter and Instagram. Or if you are interested in voiceover, you can go to my studio on Instagram. We're Speak Friend Studio, and our website is www.speakfriendstudio.com.
And I'm, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett. You can find me on Instagram at RM Burnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my own YouTube channel, Post Geek Singularity. And that'll do it.
Wait, can we do a great wave for the road?
Oh, yeah. Should
yeah.
we do a great way?
Who's starting?
Go
for it, Rob.
What?
Look at that.
Have you ever gone to a sporting event?
I thought, yeah. I was like, they're either going to do the wave from like a baseball game, or they're going to
inflatable man
the
outside
wave.
You are a wacky waving arm flailing inflatable tube man.
That's a wave.
It's way different from this.
Cut it. We're
Shut
done.
it down.
We're done.
Shut it down. Bye, everyone.
We'll see you next week, everybody.